Alright, hey Hunters, Halo Zoo back here with another One D&D video, uh, talking about the various classes in One D&D and their various versions, with the exception of Monk, because they don't have another version yet, as of this recording. Uh, so anyway, here we are with the Wizard, doing this before Warlock, because that's going to be a long video, so yeah. Let us get started. So, right off the bat, big change is that how your spells prepared work. It is now a static number. It's no longer based off your intelligence plus level. Uh, though I think it's roughly a bit lower than what you'd end up with, because normally you could prepare up to 25. Now it goes up to 21. And there's a few levels you skip. But once again, you just get more at the end. It's kind of odd, but oh well. But don't worry, you get a bunch of free spells, so we'll get into that, though, because they're kind of weird. So, Arcane Recovery is now a level later. Instead, you have Spellbook as a base thing. Which, yeah, it's... I kind of get the idea that they were going for where it's much more direct with, hey, this is how your spellbook works. And you have all this stuff. To where ritual casting is mostly because you don't have to prepare them to ritual cast. You also have a bunch of spells, including a free first level spell called Scribe Spell, which does nothing except explain how the heck you add spells to your spellbook. So I am going to say right off the bat, this is such a baffling concept that's like so weird. Like, basically, to copy a spell in your spellbook, you cast this other spell as a ritual to do it. Like, the heck? It's kind of an oddball inclusion where it's like, so I'm using a spell to add spells to my spellbook. It's kind of weird when you think about it, where it's like, wait, I'm using a spell to interact with spells? What? It works as a simple way of saying, hey, here's this spell to do stuff. This is how it works. It works like a ritual, all that. And it works better for, like, integrating it into the rules. It just ends up feeling very weird that it's like, wait, I'm doing this with a spell? And that's a general thing I'll say. Like, all their extra spells interact with your spells and stuff, and it's like, wait, I'm using a spell to do this. What? It's just it's something. And yeah, it's just kind of an odd thing. Academic. You basically have advantage on intelligence checks to study. Yes, you have a bonus to being a book nerd. Yes. I love it. It's just... It just fits so well, where it's like, yeah, you're better with Arcana than anyone else. It's something I did, where they have a bonus to Arcana. Like, I think I straight up gave them expertise in Arcana, because you're a wizard. You should know magic stuff. And you're supposed to be a smart guy. That's your thing. So, hey, here. You have advantage on intelligence checks to study. Perfect. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. I love it. Don't mind me, I'm texting. Arcane Recovery at second level. It's Arcane Recovery. Boom. Not much to say. It is kind of sad it got moved back a level, but oh well, it's fine. I will also say another critique with the spellbook and spellcasting, you don't get an extra cantrip, which is more relevant because the other two got them. You don't. You also don't have cantrip formulas, if I remember correctly. So it's like, yeah, you just have your cantrips. Actually, it might be part of the cantrips deal. Uh, no, you just retrain them as you level up, which is kind of sad. But yeah, that's another thing is like, cantrip formulas were a cool thing, so. But arcane recovery second level. Wizard subclass is now at third. I wish it was at first, but hey, it like druid, it's not as bad as like other classes, specifically sorcerer. In particular, with cleric and warlock also feeling the pain. But it's on wizard. It's like, you had to wait a level anyway, so it could be worse. But well. You get a feat, and then memorize spell at 5th level. So, one thing is that wizards having spells is not as bad because their spell list and their ability to prepare arcane spells has always been the advantage. And while some people complain about, like, oh, all the casters have the list, it's like, yeah, it's not that bad for wizard. Like, wizard, mostly because the other two are learned classes, you're not using utility spells like a wizard. It's like, sure, they have the arcane spell list, but you can't use much of it. Wizards, however, can actually utilize it way better than they can. Because they can freely cast any rituals they know without having to learn them or even prepare them at all. And they have a lot more versatility with it. But memorize spell basically just lets you re-prepare a spell with a spell. Okay, that it's just weird. Like, it's a cool thing, and I will say it's cool, but it's kind of weird that I have to use a ritual spell to do it. It's using a spell to re-prepare my spells. Kind of wacky, but it works. It works, but, it's, kind of weird. Subclass feature 6. Subclass feature 6. Modify spell. 7th level, you get to modify a spell. And basically, you get to do kind of meta magic-y stuff. You tweak it a little bit and change aspects of the spell. Which, it's cool in theory, but it does kind of come off as it's just meta magic-y. Which is why it's not going to return. It's a bit complicated, but it's also, once again, I'm using a spell to mess with my spells. What? It's just wacky. It is what it is. And then create spell. Basically, whenever you modify a spell, you can then use create spell to make a permanently modified spell. Cool idea, but very complicated in practice, so basically you have to use modify spell, then create spell, then scribe it to make new spells, which are basically like modified versions of others, but yeah. Yeah, and I understand why they removed this, where it's like, it's a cool idea, but it does come off as meta magic, but better, but costs a bunch of money to do. So yeah, it's a cool idea with modify spell and create spell. It's just in practice, it's kind of meh. Then we don't get much beyond subclass stuff and basic stuff until 15th, which is spell mastery. Yeah, it's just spell mastery. And spend 8 hours in studies. You exchange one or both the spells. It's spell mastery. It's still kind of crazy with some stuff, but we'll see how they fix that later on. Signature spells. It's signature spells all the way at 18th. I really wish they moved this earlier. Whereas, like, yeah, you just get once per day, once per short or long rest, you get to cast the spells for free. It's cool, but I do think there could be something else added as the capstone, while signature spells starts a bit earlier, but you get it twice, so it's like one at like 13th or something, let's say, and then another at maybe even 18th still. With spell mastery also being split up, where you get the first level spell like maybe even 11th, and then the second level spell at 15th still. I don't know, but basically like split them up, because it's always felt like this should start earlier rather than be very late and you get both. This in particular, where it's like, yeah, I feel like this should be split up into 2 features and start earlier. And of course, nothing else later, but that's just how it was designed then. So that is this version. So, I mean, they're adding more to the wizard at least, which is nice because it had like next to nothing previously beyond the spell list, which was kind of a lackluster thing anyway, in my opinion. But that's just me. So here, right off the bat, Arcane Recovery is now at first level again. Wizard Spellbook is just part of spellcasting, and it's a sidebar again, which, fine. It worked before. And Scribe spell is also gone. Like, all their extra spells are gone, which, fair. Modify spell kind of felt a bit too close to meta magic, so they got rid of it. And create spell was kind of like, yeah, it's weird. And then also, cantrip formulas also return. So basically, you change cantrips with a long rest, which I really like it. It's a cool idea that you get to prepare your cantrips. I wish they made it prepare all your cantrips each day, but this at least it's close enough and it's cool. It's a great addition. I like it. It fits Wizard perfectly. I would still like if they had their own unique cantrip, with all the mages having a free cantrip known, and have Wizards get their own, finally. But it is what it is. Scholar is replacing Academic, and it just gives you expertise. So, I wish it was 2 expertises, but you basically get a knowledge expertise. Perfect. Or better yet, make it Arcana plus another, just because you get. How can you not take Arcana proficient expertise? It fits too well, okay? That's my one critique is, give us 2, but make Arcana default. It's Arcana plus another. That'd be so cool. Just because you want Arcana anyway. And make it, oh, you actually get to choose one of the others. But, yeah. Subclasses. I think they're actually roughly the same. I think it's literally a default progression, because it's 3, 6, 10, 14. Yeah. Kind of a shame they don't get a late game edition, but oh well. It works. And then memorize spell at 5th. It's now not a feature, so basically just study a spellbook for a minute and change a spell prepared. It's nice. And then spell mastery and signature spells got moved back. I like that they were moved forward. Give them a different capstone. Like, please. They just come so late. It's like they barely matter. I mean, or at the very least, make it where they're split up into 2. So it's like signature spells, you get one at like 13th and then 20th, and spell mastery, you get it like 11th. You get the level 1. And just move these earlier. It feels like they come way too late, in my opinion. It's, ugh. But that is the base wizard. It's fine. You know, it's wizard. It's not a class that needed a bunch of work. It's fine. So, the Evoker. What changed? So, the name is just Evoker now. Fair. It's what you're called anyway. Evocation Savant now adds extra spells, so yeah. It's nice. It's like you get free evocation spells in your spellbook. Awesome. Yeah, it's nice. And then the other change was Potent Cantrip. Now works with attack roll spells, so it's not just save cantrips, which is great because there's more attack cantrips. So, yeah, not much in Playtest 5 going on here. I still wish Empowered Evocation was earlier, but oh well. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Playtest 7. Evocation Savant. All of them pretty much removed the cost. So the discount, it's removed, which is a shame. But you also get additional spells every level for free. So honestly, I'm actually fine with that, where it's like, yeah, whenever you get new levels of spells, you get more evocation spells of that school, which is nice. So basically, you're always getting more. So every other level, you get 3 spells instead of 2 to your spell book. Of course, later on, that does lead to some issues where some don't really get spells of those levels. So, yeah. But they also swapped Potent Cantrip and Sculpt spells, because at level 3, Sculpt spells isn't amazing. And at level 6, Potent Cantrip's kind of like, it's there, but not great. Though I will actually say, so Sculpt spells, like, you really want this at 5th when you get Fireball, but, so waiting a level for it, kind of, but, you know, it is what it is. And at the very least, it's like, you know, you don't really need it too much. Like, sure, you can use it with Shatter, Thunderwave, Burning Hands, etc., but you don't have as many at low levels that are worth casting a bunch, so getting it at 6 when you have Fireball, the spell that you definitely want this with, perfectly fine. And you cast more cantrips early on anyway. But I do think they could swap this in Empowered Potent Cantrip and Empowered Evocation so that you get the extra damage, because I would rather have the extra damage, because it's not until later you start getting stuff that will really resist or be hard to hit with cantrips, with spell attacks or saving throws, so I don't think it's that useful yet, but it's nice to have, where it's like it's always doing something, which is great. It's good. But this swap, I think it's something that nobody saw coming, but it's like, you know, this actually, this makes so much sense. Like, yeah, it's great. So basically, you have something that can be used more often to start with, and you get Sculpt spells when it's more relevant. As early on, it's not as relevant. At the very least, though, they made Shatter and Thunderwave evocation spells again, because they changed them to transmutation, so bards could use them, but then evokers couldn't use them, so yeah, that was awkward, because they really work well with Thunderwave and Shatter, and kind of want to have those both. So yeah, that was fortunately changed back, but yeah, Evoker, it's still Evoker. I mean, you know, minus like maybe moving Empowered Evocation to be 3rd level instead of Potent Cantrip. But overall, I think Wizard's okay. Like, with the only changes really being stuff that I would like to see changed anyway. Like, moving spell mastery and signature spells earlier, having a different capstone. Like, they're fine, but it kind of feels like they come very late for what they do. And also another change with spell mastery is they have to take an action to cast. You can't get shield anymore, which was specifically very good. Of course, they had no mention of taking Silvery Barbs, the absolutely busted first level spell that should honestly be second level. Yeah, it's even more busted than shield. But yeah, it is what it is. But anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video. So like and subscribe for more One D&D content whenever it comes. As well as other stuff, like maybe more looks into 5.5. Or any other number of things with various video games. But without further ado, see y'all next time! Halo Zoo, out.